Was that to remove a consent agenda item to the regular agenda?
That is
Yeah.
correct.
We usually do that under consent.
No, it would be appropriate now to move it to regular agenda.
There was a motion and a second already. This is a friendly amendment. Does someone want to accept the friendly amendment?
Yeah, can you just remind me which one we're moving?
7B.
So I will amend my own motion. Remove 7 from the consent agenda, moving it to the regular agenda as item 8E.
So we have a friendly amendment moved by Councilwoman James and seconded by Polika.
I don't accept the amendment. If someone else wants to second it.
Thanks.
All right, I'll accept the amendment so that we can move forward here.
The amendment approved by Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May. Madam Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May,
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski,
Yes.
Councilmember Polika,
Yes.
and Mayor Piana.
Yes. Next is the electronic meeting procedures. And Joe, do you want to give a brief update on that? Where we are heading to the end of the legislation?
Yeah, I had an announcement prepared for call council, but I can make it here as well.
You would be helpful.
Yeah, the legislation will end our ability to meet remotely effective following June 30th. So as we go into July 1, the expectation for all public bodies should be that we will be reconvening in council chambers or at the appropriate designated locations per the boards and commissions ordinance. But it will impact all public bodies who meet under the Open Meetings Act. And so I will be working with the city clerk and city attorney to be sending out formal guidance for all staff liaisons to share with their boards and commissions, as well as for city council prior to the June 14th. We've been discussing this for some time, but we'll have formal guidance for you.
Right. And just to add on to that to continue going and since the legislation is ending, so will the local emergency, state of emergency to support online meetings will also be ending. So at that time.
That is correct.
Okay, so we're continuing forward for June on Zoom online meetings and preparing to be in person in July, where we'll see everybody's happy smiling faces in person. All right, next up is presentations, and the first presentation tonight is our County Commissioner, Charlie Cavell. Welcome to the stage, Charlie.
Mayor, we don't have Charlie in the lobby tonight.
Oh, okay. So why don't we move on, and if he chimes in, we'll add him to the next presentation as he enters. Okay, so next is the introduction of new City of Ferndale team members. Joe?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Kyle, could you please elevate our Human Resources Director, Dan Jacey, our Sustainability Planner, Erin Quattel, and Marnie, if she's not already elevated, I believe she is. In addition to them, we're here today for those respective directors to introduce some new staff. Traditionally, when council would convene publicly in council chambers, if there was a new deputy or director level position, we would make those introductions. And most times we just generally introduce new positions as introduced into the council government. We've missed that opportunity for that in-person introduction to the public. And so we've had several new hires and moving changes with staff over the past 3 to 4 months. And I wanted to give each of our directors an opportunity to introduce their new personnel and just give them a little opportunity to introduce themselves also to the public. So with that, Dan Jacey as the Human Resources Director, if you are available to speak, we can begin with you. If not, Marnie is already available to speak. So if not, we can buy time and start with Marnie.
I think I'm ready to go.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Perfect.
So good evening, Council. The HR department is pleased to welcome Emmanuel Robinson to our team. Emmanuel has a strong mission of service, well-rounded HR experience, keen attention to detail, and is an excellent culture fit. All the qualities that we look for to be successful in a retirement and HR specialist position. So I'd like for you all to take a moment to welcome Emmanuel.
Thank you, everybody. It is a great honor to be working with the city of Ferndale, and I look forward to learning a lot more about this excellent city and serving its retirees.
Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Welcome.
Welcome, Emmanuel.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Welcome. It's been great seeing you in City Hall the last week or two. Next, Marnie, why don't you go ahead and introduce the new Deputy City Clerk?
Absolutely. So our new deputy clerk is Hira Khan. Hira started in February and she hit the ground running, has been doing an amazing job. picking up the licensing process and managing our FOIAs, as well as learning all the other little intricacies of our organization. She's already attended some trainings and will be attending more in June. And she comes from a background of election and advocacy work. And she, as I said, she's doing a perfectly great job. She comes to us from Health Canada as her government experience, and we are pleased to have her. And welcome to Hira.
Thank you so much. Believe it or not, it's already been a couple months since I've been here, and I've been incredibly excited and really happy to work at Ferndale, and incredibly excited to meet some of the people who I haven't had a chance to meet in person yet. So thank you.
Yes, I look forward to meeting you in person. And see whatever.
Welcome aboard, Kira.
Thank you so much, Hira. And then last but not least, Erin Quattel, are you available to speak and introduce our new Zero Waste Manager?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Good evening, Council. Erin Quattel, Sustainability Planner for the city, and I am pleased to announce our Zero Waste Program Coordinator, Claire Dion, who has been with us for about a month now. And similarly, she kind of hit the ground running. She's working on updating some of the stuff for our downtown waste program, specifically with the DOT and the new waste room, as well as some other really cool ideas that she'll probably be able to share with y'all soon. But please welcome Claire.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Erin. I'm so excited to be working with the city of Ferndale, and am so passionate about sustainability and waste management. So I'm just so grateful to be here.
Thank you. I know we're excited to have you be here, and I know our businesses in our downtown are ready for some changes and improvements. So we're glad you're here.
Welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. That does conclude tonight's new staff introductions. I'd like to do this regularly once we meet in person again. As you can tell by DPW Appreciation Week, people development and the culture is really critical to our ongoing success, and our people are what make everything go. So we definitely do not take that for granted. So welcome all three of you. We look forward to continuing working with you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, we're moving on to the next presentation, which is 5C, technically, is Affirmations LGBT Community Center Update by Development Communications Manager, Kyle Taylor. Good evening, Kyle. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for allowing Affirmations the opportunity to speak tonight and give you an update on kind of what we've been up to during COVID and what we're kind of expecting to do for the rest of 2021. So first I want to say thank you so much for everyone who, the city of Ferndale who contributed to the bench outside. We're so excited. Speaking on behalf of all the staff and the volunteers and the center guests, we can't wait to get back into the center so we can really utilize that bench. So thanks again. So obviously during COVID, we've kind of been closed. So we've had to kind of shift our programming to virtual. So all of our support and discussion groups that happen 6 days a week are online currently. We have our food program that happens twice a week outside of our doors on Wednesday and Friday. We've served, I think, about 4,000 meals right now since we've done that entire program during COVID. So we're really, really proud of that initiative. And we hope to expand on that with Instacart and things in the future. So we also had a really successful partnership with the city of Ferndale as well in Oakland County for our COVID-19 vaccine clinic recently. We actually have our second day for folks who got their first dose coming up here at the end of the month. So I think we saw about 50 folks getting vaccinated that day. So we were really excited to do that in a safe and affirming space. So thanks again for the partnership on that. And then a couple of exciting events that I can talk about coming up. So plans to reopen and all of that will be discussed on June 1st during our town hall with Dave Garcia, our executive director, and other board members. So definitely tune into that. It's going to be on our Facebook. So 7 p.m. on the 1st of June. So facebook.com/affirmations. And then our telethon that we're really excited about, this is our second one that we're doing on June 26th. So that will be from 12 until about 6 p.m. on June 26th. It's a Saturday, so we're really excited about that. So tune in. It'll be all over our website at goaffirmations.org. And I'm sure we'll have some folks from the city of Ferndale speaking at that event. So, but that's pretty much all I have. Can't really discuss too much about the reopening until we talk on June 1st, but we are working on plans, so it's in the works. No worries on that. We really want to be in this space as soon as we can. So that's pretty much all I have. Thank you again for giving me this space and letting us share this. So thanks again.
Thank you, Kyle, and we look forward to more frequent updates from you. I think it will be really helpful for the folks to hear what's going on in affirmations.
Awesome.
All right, have a great evening.
You too. Thanks, everyone.
Has Commissioner Cavell entered the lobby?
No, Mayor, I don't see him.
Okay, we are going to move on to the presentation to City Council's guidance for public participation policy. And with a twist this evening, Councilwoman James and I are presenting because this is a City Council initiative. So leading us off tonight is Councilwoman Kat Bruner-James.
All right, I got some feedback earlier that I wasn't being heard very well. So if that happens again, just flag me down or something. I'm in a new space and my audio engineer partner somehow speaks much louder than I do. What we're going to be talking about for the next 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully not for too long, is a plan that the mayor and I have been working on since long before we all started Zooming into these meetings. It was put on pause for quite some time because there were, frankly, more urgent issues at hand, but we're back to it. So we're going to be talking about some guidance for public meeting participation. It's largely geared toward in-person participation, but equally pretty much applies to while we're still on Zoom. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick agenda of what we're going to talk about over the next couple of minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about the current guidelines and guidance for public participation and sort of why we felt the need to make them a bit more accessible. And we like to think of this as sort of rolling out the welcome mat for public participation. It does not substantively change the rules of procedure, but rather makes them a bit more accessible and digestible for folks who are participating for the first time. So within the document that is attached to the agenda and that forms this policy, it really tackles sort of the mechanics of public participation and then has a section on discourse with dignity. And then we'll end our discussion with next steps. We're not voting on anything tonight. This is just sort of a preview. Next slide, please. So what are the rules of procedure and parliamentary procedure, and do these rules sound government? Yes, they do. I'm actually going to direct your attention to the right side of the screen first, because I think a lot of people have heard of Robert's Rules of Orders. This is something that is used with many governmental bodies, many governing boards of nonprofits, business entities. These are pretty standard. They help give us guidance on everything from quorum to how to make a motion properly and vote on it and so forth. That's really the how you run a meeting. Then on the left side, you'll see a reference to the City Council Rules of Procedure. Those are already in existence. They sort of are the Ferndale version of the meat and potatoes of how to participate in a governmental meeting. And what we're going to talk about tonight and what's attached to the agenda does not substantively change those rules of procedure, but makes them a bit more understandable. Again, they're a bit hard to find, and my hope is that once we post, if we accept the proposal that is being presented tonight, that once we post that and make that accessible, that we also embed a link to the technical rules of procedure, because I think it's important for people to know how to find that, know where they are. But we're just restructuring the information in a way that just gives it a little bit more logical sense. And of course, it's important to note that within these rules of procedure, it incorporates the Michigan Open Meetings Act, and really just gives, the structure for facilitating a meeting. Next slide, please. So, why are we doing this? Why do we desire to create a welcome mat for public participation? Well, it certainly came to my attention in early 2020, I would say, that there was an intimidation factor for either coming to a meeting for your very first time and not really being sure how to participate. I think since we've been via Zoom, we sort of walk through the procedure so many times that now we've become accustomed to it. But in the old days when we were in council chambers, it wasn't always clear when or how people were invited to participate. So this is just to sort of give a little bit more guidance on that practice. There are also folks who maybe attend meetings on a regular basis, but again, are intimidated and not really feeling confident or welcome to step up to that mic and make their remarks. So that's really the why behind this. We also are very mindful that, rules of procedure can be sort of wielded as a sword and make people feel unwelcome. We sort of want to do the opposite. That's why we keep calling this a welcome mat, to sort of invite people to the how, and also invite them to think about the why for themselves, why they're stepping up to the mic and what it is that they want to communicate. So I'm trying to avoid just reading the words on the slide because they're already there and you can read them for yourself, but let me make sure I didn't miss anything. We want to make sure to be inclusive. We want to make sure to understand that people understand that we want your participation, whether it's agreement, dissent, or confusion. We're really just inviting people to step up to the mic, to do so in the format or the form in which is set forth in the rules that already exist, and also to sort of think about the values of the community and how to express thoughts about something that's on the agenda or not on the agenda, sort of couched within those values when possible. Next slide, please. So I think this is where the mayor is going to take over. And I'll pinch hit if there's anything you're not sure about, Mayor.
No, I just had mute on and I started talking. The Zoom factor. And I wanted to give some context where the word government-y comes from. I was joking with Councilwoman James that I feel like George Bush, when he said strategery and he made up a word, I made up a word too, and it's called government-y. And it really is my non-word to describe when something is over government language, and that it needs to be everyday plain language for folks as a more accessible and digestible way of understanding the government process. And so as part of this approach, we researched the meeting procedures of other cities to take a look at how they structured theirs. And the commonality between every city is that there are guidelines of when to make a public comment, but the behavior expectations of what you can and cannot do are incorporated in the same section. And so it reads more like, here's how to do something, but this is what you're not supposed to do. So it's like, please make your comments remain in 3 minutes, but please do not use language, disparaging language against someone, or bullying tactics. So that is sort of where we tried to take a look at how do we separate how to make a public comment with creating the safe space for people to make their comments, which is what we've called the discourse with dignity. So on the left is how to make the public comment and when it happens. And we will be having the information available inside City Council chambers so that when you come into the chambers, there's guidelines for newcomers who may never have been to a meeting before. You really feel more comfortable about what the steps and actions are before they come up to the microphone. Public speaking can be scary and for a lot of people, and we're trying to reduce that type of environment where just make it more comfortable. So the discourse with dignity, what we're trying to do is really what I just said, redirect abusive language or bullying tactics. And if you've heard me introduce the call to audience now, I've been asking folks to focus their comments on issues and not people. Next slide. And so these meeting procedures really are council oriented, but they apply to all boards and commissions meetings. And so we're hoping that these meetings guidelines will help the chairs of each board and commission provide better guardrails, field goal posts about giving more tools to help them manage meetings if the meetings become more intense than they have encountered in before. But they're also at the strategic planning meeting, budget workshops, wherever there's a quorum of council, and these meeting procedures apply. All right. And so what we're asking for, if you have questions or comment about the city council meeting procedures, this is a policy of city council. Please send your comments to the full city council email or contact each of us individually if you feel more comfortable about that. We are going to be adopting it on June 14th and really not looking to do a major rewrite or major wordsmithing, but our answer your questions, help us understand what directions we may need to add into the council chambers when we focus on reopening. So that's really the purpose of this clarity. I always say we're adding more clarity to the process using everyday language. And we even have some suggestions that we heard from residents, particularly about the vague stop clock of 3 minutes that was suggested before the pandemic was put us onto Zoom online meetings. But we have purchased one and have put it in the council chambers. So those who are used to coming into the chambers will see this new feature to help guide public comments so that everybody knows what time they have remaining to wrap up their comments in a meaningful way for them. And then finally, I just wanted to say thank you to Councilwoman James, City Manager Joe, and Kyle, and our Communications Director Kara for putting so much time, thought, and care. Oh, I'm sorry, and Dan Christ for putting so much time, thought, and care into sort of rethinking and reframing how we can take something that is typical government-y and reposition it into what we think is being more accessible. We also had MML staff give feedback on this, and really, honestly, Kat Bruner James's free speech and civil liberties and legal mind was really helpful guiding this forward and a true partner in collaboration. So thank you, Councilwoman James. And that is the presentation. Are there any questions from council at this point?
no questions, just a comment.
Sure, please go ahead.
So I think that over the last, I guess, 5 years, there have been some outbursts at council that kind of really disrupted the meeting, and I hear all of the time how people are kind of intimidated to step up to the podium to speak because it really does feel different at that podium, whether you're in council chambers or sitting in the audience. When you're at that podium, it's kind of the spotlight's on you. So I really appreciate this policy because it will make more people feel much more comfortable in a nervous situation, coming up to the podium, knowing that they're having the opportunity to speak there, share their thoughts, speak their mind, and to be heard. So I really appreciate all who were involved in making this. Thank you, Councilmember Bruner James, Melanie, Mayor Piana, for bringing this to the forefront. It's about time that it happened.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more questions from council, that is the conclusion of our presentation at this time. All right, moving on. One last call for our County Commissioner, Charlie Cavell. Has he been able to join us during this time?
No, I don't see him, Mayor.
Okay, I will shoot him a text in a minute while we move on to call the audience, make sure he's okay. So moving on, we're to call the audience. So we invite people to make comments, anything on or off the agenda. But if you are interested in speaking something on the regular agenda, please feel free to wait and be a participation in that debate when it comes up. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes and direct your comments to the issues and not people. And with that, Kyle is going to take the blue hand raisers via Zoom and people calling in. And I will be timing you here on my phone at home, and I will lovingly interrupt when your 3 minutes are nearing the end.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, we have Mika.
Hi, Mika. Is it Mika or Nika? M or N?
M-I-K-A.
M-I-K-A. Mika, welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yes.
I've been a resident for almost 4 years. And I have to say I'm aghast that the city finds it normal to fly the gay pride flag in multiple locations in the city. 11 months of the year, only the United States flag and Michigan state flags are flown. Yet for 1 month, this city and many others deem it necessary to give the pride movement, one movement among hundreds, probably even thousands, its very own spot on the flagpole. No other flags are given such priority. One of my concerns is that before long, the pride flag will be flown above the United States flag with the direction this country's going. The sinful actions associated with homosexual activity that resort under the gay pride flag's umbrella mock God's creation of man and woman. They scandalize the young and innocent, cause chaos and confusion, and attempt to normalize behavior, specifically sexual actions that are abhorrent, immoral, and unnatural. I call on you, Mayor and council members, to remove the gay pride flag from inside City Hall. Do not fly it on the flagpoles outside of City Hall or on Woodward. To cancel permanently the gay pride parade, renounce June as Gay Pride Month, and encourage businesses and homeowners, especially those homeowners that have desecrated the American flag by turning the red, white, and blue into pride colors, to remove those flags and stand up and fight for the objective truth of the complementarity that is between man and woman. And I thank you for your time.
All right, we're moving on to the next caller and hand raiser.
And next, Mary, we do have a call in. It's 248. Last three is 209. If you have any comment, please feel free to speak now. And we'll go to Annie Galligan.
Hi, Annie.
Well, I was gonna maybe say something about the city spending a lot of money, but I'm gonna have to make a comment on that last fellow. I'm a Roman Catholic, and you know, once a month, if you want to fly the gay pride flag, I'm supportive of it. And I think God loves everybody, so I'm okay with the flag. In fact, I fly an Irish flag, I fly a beer flag in front of my house, and I do put a small one out just to support my neighbors, because I think, as we're all God's creations, I think gay people deserve love too. And if you had a child, would you throw that child away? Or would you love him for being gay? So I think you need to support our neighbors. So go ahead and fly the flag. I mean, below the United States flag. The United States flag always has to be number one, and then all the other flags go below it. So that's all I have to say about that one. But I did want to make another comment. I'm kind of off track on the last one, but I just sometimes I'm looking at the budgets, and we seem to be spending a lot of the taxpayers' money. So I just was hoping that maybe we could be a little bit more fiscally responsible, especially when we lost a lot of businesses this year. The Ringwald, Dino's and Embrew, and there's a couple yoga studios and things like that. So I'm a little off track by that last guy who just spoke, so I do apologize. Anyway, I'm just gonna cut off my minutes right now and lower my hand.
Thank you, Annie, for your comments.
Thank you, Annie. Next, we have Michael Larry as a resident, I believe.
Hello, council and fans of Ferndale. I wanted to briefly inform everyone of special events during the next few weeks. First, Tuesday, June 1st, it's the annual raising of the rainbow flag ceremony in front of the Ferndale City Hall at 6 o'clock. This is in recognition of June as Gay Pride Month here in Ferndale. Secondly, Saturday, June 5th, it's Spring's temporary recycling drop-off station in the City Hall parking lot from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you would like more information on details on what materials are acceptable to drop off, please go to the ferndalemi.gov, or you can Google or search on the Facebook under the city government's Facebook page for recycling. Third, Saturday, June 12th, is Gravity Art Fair and Skate Park Contest. This takes place at Geary Park from noon to 7 p.m. For more details on this event, go to www.revealproductions.com. And fourth, Saturday, June 19th, is Juneteenth celebration, taking place at the Ferndale Area District Library in their courtyard in the back, featuring storytelling, poetry reading, and live entertainment. And for more information on this event, go to ferndalemi.gov on the events page, or you can find us on the Facebook. While all these events will be held outside, we do ask that everyone follow the guidelines from the Michigan Department's Health and Human Services related to facial covering and social distancing. Other than that, everybody have a nice evening.
Thanks, Michael. And Mayor, I see no other raised hands at this time.
Okay. I will conclude the call to audience at this time. And before I do, as part of that closure, I just wanted to say that the city and the city council is committed to anti-disintegration on behalf of all of our residents, particularly our LGBTQ community. And it is important that we are allies, supporting our recognizing the community and allies like myself, how important it is to continue showing and demonstrating our support, because anti-discrimination is still prevalent and we need to show solidarity with our community, with the LGBTQ community. All right, we are moving on to the consent agenda. I'm going to read it in its entirety and council can do what they may. And I just wanted to say 7B has been removed, so I'm going to readjust all the letters as I go down. 7A, approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting held May 10th as submitted by the city clerk. 7B, approval of the pay CN Grand Trunk Western 9,000, wait, sorry, that's a verb. Approval to pay CN Grand Trunk Western $9,310 for railroad crossing signal maintenance. The expense to be charged to major street funds, traffic services, account number listed as submitted by DPW interim director. 7C, approval to purchase mosquito tablets from Clark in the amount of $9,155.52. The expense to be charged to the water fund, operating supplies, account number listed as submitted by DPW interim director. 7D, approval to purchase replacement mowers from Billings Lawn Equipment in the total amount of $25,198.32, and the expense to be charged to the general fund capital outlay vehicles account number as listed as submitted by interim DPW director. 7E, approval of the replacement of a barbed wire wall-packed air conditioning unit at Hilton Road Pump Station by Rolls Mechanical for $10,860, with expense charged to the Water Sewer Fund repair and maintenance as listed as submitted by DPW Facilities Manager. 9F, approval of resolution proclaiming June 4th as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Ferndale as submitted by Mayor Piana. 7G, approval to backfill one dispatch position left open due to the recent resignation of a dispatcher as submitted by Human Resource Director. 7H, approval to backfill the DPW Director position and enter an agreement with GovHR to conduct a national search for our next DPW Director at a cost not to exceed $28,500 as requested by the Human Resource Director. 7I, approval of the attached changes to the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Ferndale and the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2025, as submitted by the Human Resource Director. 7J, approval to purchase an air monitor from PID for Fire Department hazardous atmosphere operations for a cost of $3,822 as submitted by the Fire Chief. 7K, approval of the resolution declaring June 2021 as Gay Pride Month and approval to display the rainbow flag outside of Ferndale City Hall from June 1st through June 30th, 2021 as sponsored by Councilmember Greg Pollica. 7L, approval of the resolution proclaiming May 15th through June 15th, 2021 as Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month in the City of Ferndale as sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May. And 7M, approval of the bills and payrolls as submitted by the City Manager's Office and subject to review by the City Council Finance Committee. What is the pleasure of council?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I would like to make a small modification to 7K.
Go ahead.
I would like it to read, approve the resolution declaring June 2021 as Gay Pride Month and approve the display of the rainbow flag outside of Ferndale City Hall from June 1st through June 30th, 2021, and at the flagpole located on Woodward Avenue near the 8 Mile border, pending an approval from MDOT, as sponsored by Councilmember Greg Pollica, an openly gay, proud man.
I would support that.
Supported, moved by Councilman Mikulski with supported amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
And second by Mayor Pro Tem Leak May. Madam Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May,
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski,
Yes.
Councilmember Polika,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
and Mayor Piana.
Yes, and that is approved. Moving on to the regular agenda item, it is 8A, confirmation of the appointment of Aaron Molnar to the Parks and Recreation Commission for a term ending December 31st, 2024, an appointment of Toli, I'm going to mess this up, Ashkenazi to the Downtown Development Authority Board for a term ending May 24th, 2025. Madam Clerk, do you want to introduce this?
Yes, thank you. So our vacancies this month for boards and commissions, we had 2 applicants. We had Erin Molnar, who is a community member and has expressed her interest in serving on the Parks and Recreation Commission, and also Toli Ashkenazi has been recommended by the DDA director to apply for the position of DDA board member. And those applications were both submitted to you, Mayor Piana, after the application period closed on May 15th. And so those folks are recommended tonight for appointment to those various boards.
I think they're very worthy candidates, particularly Erin Molnar, who's given much of her time to city initiatives, but more recently was picked from the Transparency Assurance Device as the representative to the Master Land Use Steering Committee. And I met with Toli this past last Friday and talked about his hopes and dreams for the DDA and really look forward to his involvement and leadership guiding our downtown board. And I appreciate the DDA board and the executive director, Lena Stevens, for working with me on finding a candidate. Are there any comments from council at this time?
Through the chair, I'm not really familiar with Erin that much. I do look forward to getting to know her better, working on the commissions. But Toli, Mr. Ashkenazi, and I have known each other for a number of years, and he is actually on the board of directors for the Ferndale Community Foundation. I know that he is going to do a fantastic job on the DDA board. So I really look forward to him participating in a more energetic aspect with the city.
Thank you. With that, we need a motion.
I move to.
Oh, I'm going to let you two take that one.
I move to confirm the appointment of Erin Molnar to the Parks and Recreation Commission for a term ending December 31st, 2024, and to the appointment of Toli Ashkenazi to the Downtown Development Authority Board for a term ending May 24th, 2025.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem May and supported by Councilwoman Mikulski. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana.
Yes. And that is approved unanimously. And welcome to the boards, Erin and Toli. Next is 8B, consideration of the memo of understanding between Common Ground and the Ferndale Police Department. And I believe introducing this is Captain Spellman or our city manager, Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. Kyle, if you could please confirm that you've been able to promote Elizabeth Carr, the director for Common Ground, to be able to speak.
Yes, sir.
And Captain Spellman, are you available to speak?
Yes, I am, City Manager.
Perfect, thank you. Mayor and Council, I'm thrilled to be able to, in collaboration with the Fire Chief and Police Chief, bring this potential partnership forward tonight. As you know, over the past year, there's been significant calls of interest and attention on what outside credentialed resources for the mental health support industry could be offered to police departments. We are thrilled to have Elizabeth here tonight to present a recommendation to participate in a pilot program with Common Ground to provide some mental health support services for the police department. And so, Elizabeth, if you are able, can you just give us a little background on yourself and on this model program?
Yes, thank you so much for having me tonight. Common Ground has been a part of the community in Oakland County for 50 years, providing psychiatric and assessment services in a variety of ways for individuals, specifically in regards to mental health and overall well-being. Common Ground received a federal SAMHSA grant to provide follow-up services to individuals that are at high risk of suicide, high levels of anxiety, and high levels of depression. And so part of this particular grant is obviously taking the mental health services into the community. And we have been establishing partnerships with local hospitals, emergency room departments, and law enforcement in particular. And so one of the aspects of this particular project is helping to law enforcement, as they often are the first responders to many different types of calls, crisis, and anywhere from, well checks on individuals to suicide to criminal activity. We know that 911 is a universal qualifier for all sorts of types of services and calls. And one of the aspects of this particular project is helping law enforcement to identify individuals that are in need of those mental health services, and then having law enforcement refer those individuals to mental health. So that would be Common Ground. And we would then make contact with that individual and then provide follow-up services for up to a year for the person. This involves obviously obtaining the consent of the individual. That individual can withdraw their consent at any time within that year. And we can provide a variety of services, particularly linking and connecting the individual to resources within their own community. Also helping them to address any barriers that they may be experiencing to accessing mental health services, and also helping them to engage and participate in their community in those resources and services that will, again, help them maintain a healthy lifestyle, healthy mental health, and a sense of well-being. And so we have been meeting pretty regularly with emergency responders and law enforcement with the city of Ferndale, and have drafted an MOU and are excited to begin the next steps in establishing that partnership.
Through the chair, there were some additional details that are noteworthy in the call to action that describes and presents this, specifically the concurrent pilots going on with other jurisdictions. So the city of Ferndale is joining a group, if you will, and Captain Spellman is available to speak to any questions you might have for the police department in terms of how they would incorporate and interpolate processes with Common Ground. So to that question, after that concludes our introduction. So Mayor, I'd leave it to you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for being here and providing that. I'm going to open it up to council comments. And if I may, I usually let everybody else speak first, but I just wanted to sort of do an introduction to our police department and say thank you to our chief and captain, as well as our city management team, in exploring how to provide a human approach service to mental health. Our police departments, particularly in Ferndale and in Southeast Michigan, because of what I would call our weak mental health care system, a lot of the mental health issues fall on to the police department need. and they have done a very worthy and valiant job up to this point of addressing it, but it's clear that our police officers cannot be trained to do everything, and that mental health workers in the right scenario and situation can be the best case managers to assist our police department. And so I just wanted to say thank you to our police department for finding other partners to help and assist your duties. And they're complementary, and hopefully long term our state and maybe our nation will have a better healthcare system in the future, where the burden always doesn't fall on the police officers to be the first responders to something that could be addressed through the healthcare system. With that, I will open it up to council for comments and questions about the memo of understanding.
Through the chair, if I could just add that it's not just our police department, but our fire department as well will be involved in this process, because in many instances they are first responders and identify issues that maybe police officers may not catch. As you know, Mayor, I was very fortunate to be on the original call with representatives from Common Ground, and so a lot of my questions are answered, so I'm going to leave it up to our other council members to ask any questions, and then I have some comments that I'd like to share after.
Open it up to the remaining council folks.
Through the chair, I do have a question. Forgive me, I have so many different windows open. I'm trying to click around. My question, and I do have some comments that I'll add later, is really sort of the time frame. I understand that this is grant driven, and so I'm wondering sort of what are the resources that are in alignment for us to be able to enter this partnership now, and how long are those resources available, if we know?
Yeah, I can certainly answer that. This particular grant is a 3-year grant, and we've just completed the first year, so there's 2 remaining years. But with that being said, this is the precursor grant that the federal government has done to the 988 system. And 988 is a federal initiative that legislation was just passed to create a comparable to 911 only for mental health. And so 988 will be that mental health line similar to 911. And obviously there's a lot that needs to be worked out. There's a task force currently that I'm sure, possibly some of you are a part of. Common Ground is very involved in sitting at that table on that task force as well. Common Ground also has the contract for the Michigan Crisis Assessment Line, which is also another precursor to the 988. And the follow-up services are also integrated into the Michigan Crisis Assessment Line. So after this 3-year grant period is completed, it is anticipated and expected that we will continue to provide these same services going forward under either the Michigan Crisis Assessment Line and or 988.
And Mayor, should I hold my comments till the questions have all been asked?
If I may, through the chair, I believe I heard you say that this a year has been, this service has been provided for about a year now. With everything kind of happening with the COVID, there probably was, I would say, maybe more need for mental health resources, even more than before. So may I ask, what sort of effects have we seen regarding this happening over the last year? Is there an update regarding that, either with you, Elizabeth, or with Captain Spellman?
Elizabeth, I'll let you go first.
All right, well, we have certainly seen an increase in requests for mental health services, particularly among children and youth. And there's certainly been almost a state of crisis in providing mental health services, particularly for children and youth. The state of Michigan does not have enough service providers for that particular age group. And so that's, again, something that the state is looking at, and we've had to be very creative in providing for children and youth in particular. As far as adults, again, we've seen a huge increase. We do run a 24-hour crisis hotline, and our calls have doubled during COVID time from years past. So the need has been quite prevalent.
And I would just only add that I agree with Elizabeth. We've seen the same increase, and we've called Common Ground on a monthly basis just to get a restock of cards and for the hotline and the crisis, and we've leaned on them heavily as a resource. It has been quite the year for mental health.
I had one question. In the MOU, it says that Common Ground will be addressing calls for consultancy around drug use. And I know that we last year in September partnered with Families Against Narcotics, who were also, we partnered with to also to respond to sort of drug addiction for repeat calls of service. And I was wondering what's the difference between using Common Ground and Families Against Narcotics, or are they complementary?
They are complementary. Common Ground, we don't have a totally comprehensive substance abuse program. We have we focus on the crisis aspect of substance abuse, and so that comes down to providing a sober support unit. So when there is an individual that is under, extreme influence and needs to detox in a medically safe way under supervision of doctors and nurses, we have a sober support unit where the individual can be transported to our unit and have the medication, medical withdrawal, and the detoxing medical aspects that go along with detoxing. And then we would link them to the appropriate services in the community. So it would be a partnership, not with the other substance abuse programs that are available in the community. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure
How will our police department make the determination between which one to call?
So I can help you out with that one, Elizabeth.
Yeah,
I guess the easiest answer is to say that all three of our partnerships, we have two with Families Against Narcotics, overlap each other. So with Hope Not Handcuffs, that's where we allow our police department to be a meeting place for anyone seeking treatment for any addiction. So they can come to us, we contact a representative from Hope Not Handcuffs, they come out any time of the day and they facilitate inpatient treatment for addiction. And then we also have a second partnership with FAN where it's the comeback program, where we reach out with the fire department and representatives from the comeback program to community members that may have overdosed on opiates or any other narcotics or even alcohol. And we reach out to them. We go out to the community members and provide resources and assistance to them. So we're trying to cover it from all avenues. They can come to us, we will go to them. And then for the crisis and the mental health portion that oftentimes overlaps addiction problems as well, we lean on Common Ground for their resources.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. I know it's multi-layered and multifaceted in terms of need, and it sounds like you guys are, my sense of it is you're knitting together sort of wraparound services support to tailor-made responses based off a need.
Absolutely.
That's all the questions I had. Councilman Mikulski, it looked like you had a question. No, are you good? Okay. Any comments from council? Councilwoman James, I knew you had something to say.
Yeah, I'll jump in, and then I know that Councilman Paul will on this one. I'm just super excited about this. There are so many factors that have brought this into alignment in such a perfectly timed way, where this is our last meeting in May. We're nearing the end of Mental Health Awareness Month. You know, this is following an intense year, over several intense years, really focusing on police reform, and this fits into the category, I think really well. It also is following this COVID crisis, which has really intensified mental health crises. We see the data and we hear it anecdotally within the city. And just sort of coincidentally, maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, I can't remember how long ago, you know, something like this has been on my priority list for a really long time. And I sort of finally had the time to reach out to our county commissioner to find out what resources were available. He connected me with Elizabeth, who unbeknownst to me was already in conversations with Joe and Chief Emmy. And so the thing that really brings this into alignment, you know, are the values of our police department really welcoming this resource, and really making it happen. So I am just so pleased to see all of these things coming into alignment and happening. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Through the chair, I echo your comments, Councilwoman. The mental health is such a vast issue that no one solution is going to fix the problem. We need a multifaceted approach, you know, to really knocking some of the issues that we're dealing with within the community, and this, I think, is going to be one big chunk that we're going to be able to make a difference within our community. And I too am so proud of our police department for taking the initiative and wanting to be part of the solution and working, you know, with partners like Common Ground to help members in our community. Because honestly, that's why they've gotten into the profession. The profession of police officers were to, you know, to protect and serve our community, and that's exactly what they're doing with this partnership. So I'm really, really happy, and I look forward to hearing how things go over the next 6 months to a year with the first report that we get. So thank you.
Thank you for everybody's questions and comments. If there's no further questions or comments, we need a motion.
Kevin has his hand up.
Oh.
Apologies, Mayor.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't hear that.
Mayor, I just didn't want to leave the fire department out. You know, they deserve a lot of credit. When we go to these mental health calls, they are right next to us, and we rely on them heavily. They are our partners, and I can't say enough for the job that they do. And everything that Councilman Palika said about us is true about them and more. So I just want to give a shout out to Chief Robinson and her crew. They do a wonderful job, and we appreciate them immensely. So.
Yes. I do not mean to omit the fire department, and I'm going to blame that 8B. The line item only says City of Ferndale Fire Department because you're the contract holders. So So sorry to the fire department tonight, but you're part of this as well.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I move that we approve the memo of understanding between Common Ground and the Ferndale Police Department with support with the fire department.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Polika, and I believe that was Councilman Mikulski and a cat. That approves as well. With that, Madam Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Captain Spellman. We look forward to hearing your progress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 8C, consideration of a contract with Davie Resource Group for urban forestry services in the amount of $42,700 as submitted by our sustainability planner. And welcome to the Zoom stage, Erin.
Hello, thank you again. Good evening, everyone. So this is a proposal for a continuation or a renewal of the Davie Resource Group urban forestry contract services we have. Here with me tonight is Carrie Gray, the representative representing Davie this evening, and she is going to be giving us a presentation after my brief introduction, and to get into a little bit more about the services that Davie has provided us, go through a little bit of the history. We've been working with Davie since about 2015, 2016, and they've provided a lot of really great support for us as a city. Prior to working with them on our inventory and some of the other contract services, we didn't really have an urban forestry program for the city of Ferndale. And you can just see a lot of the benefits from the different tree planting efforts. We were awarded a grant opportunity for additional training options for our staff about a year and a half ago. That was a little bit delayed due to COVID. And then, yeah, we've just had a lot of really great support from them. We've improved our maintenance schedule. We've improved how we manage our tree planting events and that sort of thing. So without further ado, would like to introduce Carrie and have her give a more in-depth overview of some of the successes that we've had so far in this partnership, and then discuss the details of the proposal and the options.
Thank you, Erin. Or Carrie.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Erin, and thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm really pleased to be here today to talk about the City of Ferndale's contract urban forestry program. As Erin mentioned, I'm Carrie Gray. I'm a principal urban forestry consultant with Davie Resource Group. So I'm one of the team members that works on the contract for the City of Ferndale. So as Erin mentioned, over the last 6 years, the city has really made it a priority to care for and manage the urban forest. And that's because the city really recognizes that trees are an asset and they provide a really positive return on investment. So trees are one of the only, or really the only city asset that actually appreciates in value over time. And for every $1 invested, studies have found that it can yield on average $2.23 in benefits to the community. And those benefits are wide ranging. And I wanted to go through a couple of them because I think they're really important for the sustainability goals and really the goals of the city of Ferndale. So they help to reduce the urban heat island effect. So we know that our cities get hotter when we have more impervious surfaces. And trees and the shade they provide can help reduce peak summer temperatures by 2 to 9 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a significant amount, especially during a heat wave. So trees also have been found to prevent up to 1,200 heat-related deaths in the United States each year. So really providing a very positive human health impact. They help clean our air and reduce air pollution. Studies have found that trees can prevent 430,000 incidents of asthma exacerbation each year. So those are asthma incidents that might require some medical attention. Trees also can help improve water quality and flooding. So we know that trees can help reduce the volume of stormwater runoff and help also to reduce the pollutants that are entering our stormwater systems and our local rivers and streams.
We know that properly placed trees around homes can actually help reduce our energy costs up to $250 per year. So a real significant amount that can make a big difference on people's energy bills. Trees also really help to make our communities more livable. So they found that increases in canopy can help reduce crime. And they also found that schools that had trees on their campuses, students actually had better test scores than campuses that didn't have trees on them in students' test scores. And as I mentioned, trees provide a lot of human health benefits. So in addition to helping to reduce those heat-related deaths and also reducing asthma exacerbation, they actually get us out and get us moving. So we all know in the era of COVID, we've had lots of wanting to just get outside in nature. And so trees are providing that benefit. And for people in Ferndale, being able to walk outside and take a walk on a nice shaded tree can really help improve mental health and help improve our physical activity. And also, they really provide a low-cost tool to address equity issues that we find within our communities. So it can help reduce these stressors like the urban heat island effect or flooding and stormwater issues that really impact our really most vulnerable populations. So it helps really build adaptive capacity within our communities and help build resilience among our most vulnerable populations. So when we look at Ferndale, so as Erin mentioned there, we did a street and park tree inventory, which we'll talk about in the next slide. Ferndale is just the street and park trees. So those trees that are managed by the city provide almost $1 million in ecosystem benefits each year. So that's just annual benefits. So they remove 1.3 million pounds of carbon from the air. So that's equal to the emissions that 200 F-150s would release during a year. And they also intercept nearly 11 million gallons of stormwater. So that's equivalent to the amount of stormwater that is contained in 124 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So a significant amount. So helping to manage and grow the canopy in Ferndale is really helping to improve the benefits that are provided to the community. And plus, besides all these wonderful ecosystem and environmental benefits, they're also beautiful. And so they just provide an aesthetic benefit to our community. So as Erin mentioned, Davie Resource Group has been a partner with the city since 2016 by providing urban forestry program and technical assistance. So we began working with the city in 2016 doing an urban tree canopy assessment. That's where we took a bird's eye view of the city and measured the amount of tree canopy cover that cover the city, in addition to other land cover types like buildings, roads, sidewalks, and identify the areas that are best suited for tree planting. We also began in 2016 a phased street and park tree inventory where we inventoried all the street and park trees within the city and also started giving the city of Ferndale the Tree Keeper software. So that was the first year that the city started using the Tree Keeper software. And that's an asset management tool that helps track the maintenance and other information related to the trees that were inventoried. So when we finished the street tree inventory in 2018, we also developed an urban forest management plan. And that was a work plan to help the city prioritize the activities that needed to be done and really help to give them sort of a path forward in terms of their maintenance and developing a more proactive program. So as Erin mentioned, this contract right now is a continuation. We've been working with the city since 2017 on providing contract urban forestry services. So that includes, we provide monthly site visits. We've been doing city staff training and support. We provide outreach and education materials. We conduct tree inspections and assessments. As Erin mentioned, providing tree planting assistance to the community, helping with Arbor Day programs, and assisting in grant writing. So this past year, in 2021, this is just a listing of our accomplishments of this past year. So we've conducted 11 monthly site visits so far. We've conducted 105 tree inspections, which were based on either city staff request or resident requests. In 2019, we started looking at the trees in Garbett Park. There were some issues with some of the oak trees that the city was having with some of them breaking. So we started an inspection program there. So in this past fall, we did an annual inspection of those trees and provided some tree maintenance recommendations to the city. As part of that project, we also identified 9 trees that required some advanced assessment. So we brought our Davie Institute team, so that's our research wing of Davie Tree, and they came up to help us do some advanced assessments on the oak trees. We also provided some city staff training and support. And so the next slide, I'll go into a little bit more detail on what that encompassed. We've been providing support to the new public works supervisor who's now responsible for forestry activities. As we mentioned, grant writing assistance. And then we also facilitate conversations and meetings with city staff quarterly to really make sure that we understand the current priorities going on with the city and ensuring that our assistance is being the most effectively targeted at the urban forestry needs of the city. In terms of training and support, over the last year, we've been providing staff a lot of training. So these trainings are a combination of, we provide classroom training, then we do the in-field training to take the lessons that they learn in the classroom, and then we also provide some follow-up materials that they can use as a reference. So we've done trainings on tree pruning and tree biology, tree planting, tree risk and how to identify tree risk, tree species identification, tree planting bid specifications, kind of helping to write those, and then providing tree keeper support as needed for staff. So all of this work that we've been doing and that we are proposing to do in the contract that is coming up for is to really move Ferndale's program or across what we call our urban forest program continuum. So this is really the steps that a program needs to have in order to manage and have a sustainable and healthy urban forest within that community. So starting with having a Tree City USA and dedicated and committed staff, and having a tree inventory and a funded program. And sort of the pinnacle, but not the end of the process, because it's an iterative process and we continue to kind of move through it, is having an urban forest master plan. The city is really checking off all the boxes. The city doesn't currently have an urban forestry master plan, but we've been talking, with Aaron, and you have a lot of planning opportunities coming up. And so how can we best include trees in those planning opportunities that are already happening within the city? So this coming up year, we have proposed and provided a proposal to Aaron to continue to do the contract forestry services. So continuing to do those monthly site visits and tree inspections, still providing city staff training and support, providing our program priority meetings that we hold quarterly, and then developing, this is a new item that we're also going to do this year, is developing 3 to 5 best management practices, either documents or videos, to really make sure that staff is doing the best they can and following industry standards in the work that they do to really help build capacity within the forestry program and within the work that the Department of Public Works does around trees. We've also provided additional services based on our conversations with the city, and then also some industry standard recommendations for some of the management tools that you already have in place. So we provided some additional cost to update the tree inventory data for the trees that were inventoried in 2016. So industry standards recommend that the tree inventory is updated regularly. So that's usually on a 5 to 7 year cycle. So at this point, you're at the 5-year cycle for those 2016 trees. So this would kind of get you on track to being re-inventorying those trees. Planning assistance, as I mentioned, the urban forestry master plan is not in place currently in the city, but you have lots of planning projects going on. So we can sort of work to help incorporate trees and urban forestry in those already existing planning efforts. And then finally, the last one is sort of an optional on-demand kind of by the hour support to provide any assistance beyond the current contract to address any specific needs that the city of Ferndale identifies. So sorry, that was a really quick and fast way through that, but I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Carrie. This is Erin again, and also I'm happy to move into anything in more detail and expound on anything that Carrie has presented on as far as experience with working with Davey and everything we've done with the city so far.
Thank you. We'll open it up to council for questions.
Through the chair, I have a quick question. Within the additional services, the tree inventory update, is that going to be a full update? So all the trees within the city?
That would be, so as Carrie mentioned, when we originally did our tree inventory, we separated the city, I think in quadrants, to make it a little bit more manageable. And let me turn my video on. I had some animals pacing back and forth, that's why I didn't have it on earlier. Hello, everyone. And this would be starting off with one of those first quadrants to re-inventory some of those trees. And so as Carrie mentioned, it's kind of on like a 5-year cycle, and it would be the first quadrant, which I'd have to double check, but I want to say was the northwest part of the city. I think that we started from the northwest and moved around in that way, but I'd have to double check on that.
Okay. So as a follow-up to that, is this a redundancy in training? It looks like we were training our DPW staff to update Tree Keeper as well. Or
Yeah. So, yep. So we train our staff on Tree Keeper. You know, we have, unfortunately, sometimes we have some turnover. Some people need to be retrained. It's not something that some staff members use as frequently, so there needs to be refreshers. And then when we did have Brendan move into the position to be the leader of everything for forestry, there had to be a little bit more in-depth training for him to get him up to speed on some of the more finer intricacies in the back end of doing all the maintenance with that. I will mention with Tree Keeper as well that it is a tool that is open to the public as well. So if you look and you can search your address and see what trees are growing around either your home, your friend's home, or everywhere else throughout the community.
Yeah, and the inventory update too is to actually measure, you know, like identify additional trees that are not currently in the inventory, remeasure the trees, check their condition. So do some arborist evaluation of those trees as well. So it's a little bit more robust, and staff normally updates condition, or not even condition, sort of maintenance that's been done. But this is to actually look and update the inventory data.
Thank you.
Other questions from council? I had the same questions as Laura, so she got mine for me. All right, if there's no other questions, we need a motion to proceed to debate the item.
Move to approve the contract with Davie Resource Group for urban forestry services in the amount of $26,000 with optional add-on services of on-demand support, $5,000, tree inventory update, $6,700, and master planning assistance not to exceed $5,000 from account 101-441-818 as submitted by Sustainability Planner.
Support.
Are there any comments? I just wanted to say thank you for staff's due diligence on making sure that we're tailoring the consulting support or the expert tree support to meet the needs of our internal operations, but also the needs of the residents, because I know we're very emotional about our trees here, and we need to keep our old growth trees as healthy as possible as part of our tree coverage. And at some point, I would like to learn where we are as part of the Tree Keeper. We have a 10% increased tree coverage goal from 30 to 40%. I was wondering where we fall within that progress of increasing trees. Are we neutral, just staying ahead of or are we ahead of the curve? Are we meeting our goals? That would be helpful to know.
If I may add, Mayor, I'd love to see a thermometer if we could, that we could see increase over time.
Yeah, maybe like a single tree forest and it just populates and we create.
Oh, I love that.
Just be creative. Whatever works. All right, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May.
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. And thank you for being here tonight, Carrie, and walking us through all of the support that you provide the city.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 8D, which is the approval of the 2021 Ferndale Dream Cruise sponsorship agreement between the City of Ferndale and GTB as the agent of Ford Motor Company. And Michael Larry, our special events manager is here to walk us through this.
So since 2008, we have had the fortunate support from Ford Motor Company to sponsor the Ferndale Dream Cruise in downtown Ferndale. Because of their financial support of $50,000, it's helped us to feature some of the most popular events that are taking place during the Woodward Dream Cruise on Friday and Saturday. This year would be August 20th and 21. And so therefore, they have accepted to continue their relationship with us for 2021 in the same amount of funding of $50,000 in sponsorship fee.
Open it up for council for questions. I had one question. Is there any difference in the sponsorship this year, that it would be surprisingly different because of COVID, or any adjustments that you think council should be aware of?
The discussion that we've already had with Ford Motor Company, they already, because they are doing events all over the country, and with their planning, they do have social distancing as part of their policy requirements. So that means that, for example, during Mustang Alley, vehicles will be separated a little bit farther distance from each other so that there's more wiggle room. And with the display area, they will not only have more space between each car that's on display, but they will, each and every time someone comes around the vehicle, they have staff there that will be sanitizing the handles to the car doors. And anybody who wants to sit in the car afterwards, they will be wiping them down, sanitizing them. And the same for their display. They usually have their partners that are in the City Hall parking lot. So they do have policy already with being mindful of social distancing and facial covering.
Thank you for walking us through that.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
Through the chair, I just want to express that I will be abstaining from vote as I am an employee of Ford Motor Company. And although we are not paying Ford Motor Company, there is a financial gain that Ford would receive through this type of sponsorship.
Thank you. You've done that every year you've been on council. So that Ford has been a sponsoring entity. So thank you for being upfront about that. All right, we need a motion from council to proceed, minus Councilman Pellicott. Oops, you're on mute, or we can't hear you.
Sorry, I have a quick question for our council for our legal counsel, before we make the motion, if
Go ahead.
you'll permit. So, apologies for, usually I try to float some questions before the meeting when they come to mind, but this came to mind sort of late in the game. If let's say infection rates spike, or a new variant that's vaccine resistant, or some kind of safety concern comes up, I don't see those kinds of circumstances in the termination clause. Attorney Christie.
Through the chair, Councilwoman, it's a good point. There is not really any express address, a force majeure provision that would expressly reference that type of circumstance. That is something that probably both sides might want to have embodied within the agreement, but it is silent as of right now on that subject.
Would we have the ability through other means, not directly contemplated in the sponsorship, agreement, but in other, permitting processes, if it becomes unsafe to move ahead as contemplated, would we have a different option to opt out of this event in August if it's unsafe?
Well, there's an ability to terminate for any reason with 30 days notice. That's for breach. Now it really is an issue that has not been addressed with the sponsor. I don't believe Michael Larry discussed that. This template agreement has really not been modified from last year to address that circumstance. Council, if it wishes, could approve, from a timing standpoint, approve the agreement as presented this evening. That it would be an issue. I think that the sponsor might have thoughts relative to some type of language that could be brought as an addendum or an amendment to the agreement, certainly with ample time prior to the event, but it's going to need some discourse with the sponsor.
Really good point, Councilman James. I would like to add some context, is that if there was a clause in here to terminate the sponsorship, it would only terminate the sponsorship of Ford's involvement. The cancellation of the event is probably a three-step process, starting with that one, and then council agreeing to end the event entirely in Ferndale of its own hosted event. And then there's a third step where all the cities along the corridor have to agree, as well as then their board members appointed to the Woodward Dream Cruise Board of Directors also have to vote to cancel. That is the process I navigated and learned last year.
I think through the chair, two approaches. I would ask Michael Larry if it has to be approved this evening, given that there's still, nearly 2.5 months left. That would be, if timing is such to address that issue and come back at council's first meeting in June to address clearly that hopefully very remote but possibility that does exist.
I'm in agreement with Councilwoman James, and I'm sending this back just to get a good faith adjustment by our sponsorship partner would be helpful.
Your Honor, could I ask through the chair, I see Michael still logged in. Is he aware of any type of time deadline?
No, there's
Okay.
not.
Then I think that would be a good idea to have that dialogue.
Just for clarity's sake, when it comes to an event like this, I felt that the 30-day notice that was written in the contract gave us ample time, even if it was due to COVID, for example. We would need to be aware that if there was a cancellation, it should be within more than 30 days. For example, like last year, for example, we officially canceled the Woodward Dream Cruise on the last day of June. And for this same purpose, let's say that by July 20th would be 30 days in, would start kicking your 30 days. Because it's not just about the city and the sponsor agreement that we need to be concerned about. We also need to make sure that the public is aware so that we have ample enough time to get the message out there that activities, events, all the things that would normally take place during the Woodward Dream Cruise would be canceled, even though, just like in last year's experience, while we officially canceled the Woodward Dream Cruise, it didn't stop cruisers from cruising Woodward. So
well,
I would say that it just, in my thought, that if there was a reason for us to cancel, that 30 days would fall into place, because I feel that we would need to make an official announcement more than 30 days prior to the event to get that awareness out there into the public. Because basically the contract says that we have 30 days, and in that 30 days, we have to just give the sponsor their funds back.
Yeah, I think that that's a good point, but I do think it's worth spending a little bit of specific time talking through with the sponsor that scenario to make sure the sponsor as well as the city are comfortable with the language.
Would that be an addendum?
You know, if we're gonna table it to the next council meeting, we'll just address that in the agreement.
Okay.
I know this is probably disappointing to hear, Michael, to delay by 2 weeks, but I think it covers legally the city. But I also think the conversation is warranted with the sponsor in the event. This whole public health crisis has thrown so many unknowns at us. And I think just being prepared a little bit more. I don't anticipate triggering it, but having the protection in there would be helpful.
Agreed, totally.
Is there agreement from council on this? Is there support for that, for tabling it and coming back in 2 weeks? I see some nodding heads. And Councilman Polika will refrain from saying anything. Okay. With that, we're going to table this item. And Michael, thank you for doing the due diligence and having these conversations.
You're welcome.
Okay, folks, we're moving on to the last agenda item, and it is formerly consent agenda 7B, now 8E. And it is the approval to purchase public audience chairs for council chambers in the amount of $21,027 as submitted by Director of Special Events and Projects. And this is a second debut, and requested by Councilwoman Mikulski.
I will keep it very, very brief. The only reason that I moved this to the regular agenda is so I could address a few things and then just to have a vote. So there was some false information circulating online concerning BidNet. There's been a lot of talk that BidNet is an exclusive portal that you have to pay to play. You have to register, pay a certain fee, and then pay to bid. That is not true. It is patently untrue. You can register for free, you can bid for free. So that was not a reason that we didn't get more competitive bids, for instance. I also wanted to make sure that there was clarity on the warranty. Michael Leary has done a fantastic job in providing information and dealing with me and my nitpickiness concerning this. So there is a written warranty. I do have it here in front of me. I spoke to the National Business Furniture, the provider here. They did clarify that they will send replacements as long as that series is available. It is the Lennox series. The Lennox series has been in production since the 70s by Lestro. If it's not in production, the manufacturer's warranty would kick in. And that helps with substitution or a discount on a different kind of chair. So we are definitely covered with a lifetime warranty. On a personal note, I am still uncomfortable with the price tag, and that's that. So that is the only reason that I put this on the regular agenda. I completely understand why we would move this forward. And I do want to commend Michael Leary on doing his due diligence and following up with me and with my questions.
Thank you. Any questions from council? If not, we need a motion.
I move that we approve the purchase of audience chairs for council chambers in the amount of $21,027, the expense to be charged to account number 296-000-977-000 as submitted by the Director of Special Events and Projects.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Leak May and supported by Councilman Polika. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Mikulski?
No.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank
Mayor
you.
Pro Tem Snake?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana.
Yes, and that passes 4-1. And now we are concluding our regular agenda items. It must be getting towards summertime because this is the earliest I think we've been with our regular agenda in a while. So now we're moving on to call to council, and starting with city department updates. Our city manager, Joe, will lead us through those with our directors.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, we have our Parks and Recreation Department with some announcements from Emmanuel Johnson.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay, I don't know what happened just now. How's everybody doing? Good, good. Just a few updates from Parks and Recreation on some upcoming activities and programs. First of all, we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware about our drive-in movie series that we'll be doing on Saturday, June 5th at the Ferndale High School. Tickets right now are $25. That price is locked in until this Friday, at which time the tickets will go up to $30, and that's $30 per card, not per person. We also, as part of that, are selling a nacho party pack that comes with a candy and a drink and nachos. And for more information on that or to register, you can go to our registration site, or you can check our Facebook page for updates about the event and what will be going on with it. We also have our upcoming Gravity skate contest and art fair, which Michael Larry told you a little bit about earlier today already. Wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that we have the spots for the competitions that we'll be doing in scooters, skateboards, BMX, and inline skating. We'll be doing some trick competitions for that in different divisions. You can sign up for those on the website as well. People do need to be pre-registered for that in order to participate, because there's a waiver and things that you need to sign ahead of time. So if you're interested in that, head to the website. We also wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that summer camp is open for registration right now. The first week is already half full, and half being 30. We had to take it down from 50 to 30 to accommodate some of the COVID guidelines as outlined by CDC and the state of Michigan. We're going to be running 9 weeks of summer camp. We are actively working on securing a number of field trips right now. We've got some secured, but some of them we have to wait until the guidelines are further developed, especially for the water parks. They won't have a decision until like June 1st. So if anybody has any questions or anything about summer camp, you can reach me at ejohnson@ferndalemI.gov, or you can sign up to register online. Everything that I've talked about tonight is up on the registration site for people to sign up for. So any questions, just let us know.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Next up, we have an announcement from Fire Chief Robinson on the state of vaccines. Chief, are you available?
I am. Good evening, everybody. I know this is a topic that is constantly evolving and sometimes creates some confusion and a lot of questions. So what I want to say is we had, just like affirmations, City of Ferndale partnered with Oakland County. We had our first vaccine on May 5th and 6th for first shot. And then May 26th and 27th was intended to only provide the second dose of vaccines. However, as everything keeps evolving and the ages eligible to receive the vaccine got approved, we reached back out to Oakland County and asked if we could utilize our clinic to provide this service to that now expanded age population, because we want to be very good stewards to our citizens and our community. And since they were already going to be here, we wanted to ask and see if we could do that. Oakland County said yes. And so now the clinic that's occurring this week on Wednesday, sorry, we have a fire call coming in right now, so it's going to get a little loud. I apologize. So Wednesday and Thursday, at the Kulik Center, while it was intended to initially just be second doses, they will accommodate any walk-ins that occur, even for first doses. Anyone ages 12 and up can go to the Kulik Center on Wednesday or Thursday and receive the Pfizer vaccine. That is the vaccine that's been administered at this site. So anybody who had appointments for second dose, those will be honored, but no walk-ins will be turned away. All Oakland County vaccination clinics now accept walk-ins. So that is an update they did. So all Oakland County vaccination sites now accept walk-ins. So ours, what they will do is anybody that comes on Wednesday or Thursday, there's a walk-in for their first shot. They will assess the quantities, the numbers that we get on those days, and then either schedule those people at other sites for their second dose, or if the numbers are high enough, they will come back here and provide the second dose here at the Kulik Center. So it's going to be driven by the numbers that turn out to determine if it's worth the resources to come back to this site or service those people for the second dose at a nearby site. Also with that, we were selected as a site to kind of get some footage for the state campaign to promote vaccination in teenagers. So with that, the Ferndale site was selected for some filming and a press conference that will occur on Wednesday. And we're looking for some youth, some families that have youth who they wish to get the vaccine that would be willing to come on Wednesday and get there about 10 a.m. to be there for the press conference and act as ambassadors promoting vaccination in the younger population. Anybody's interested should contact me so I could provide you further details and help coordinate that. And it would be, if you were under the age of 18, a parent would need to be with them so they could be there to consent for them to receive the vaccine. But we would love to have a great turnout. We would like to keep this service going for our community as it's needed and fill that need and make it very accessible to people in our community. So hopefully that answers questions people may have and clarifies some things. So if you guys don't have any other questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. I really want to take an opportunity to commend Chief Robinson's leadership on this. Her tenacity has really paid off for the community and really shining a spotlight on Ferndale, serving as a host throughout the county, leading this initiative. Next, we have Captain Spellman here to talk about the return of the Chiefs Roundtable concept.
Thank you, Joe. Chief Emmy is excited to carry on the tradition started by Chief Palazzolo of the Street Corner Roundtable. This event is going to be hosted by the Chief himself and our Community Engagement Officer, Jill Maulmeister. It's an opportunity for community members to ask questions, voice concerns, and provide feedback in a relaxed but socially distanced setting. That's going to occur tomorrow, Tuesday, May 25th. Our first meeting is going to be at 6 p.m. It'll be on the block of West Maplehurst, in between Livernois and Pinecrest. And our second meeting will be on the east side at 7 p.m. on Vester, just east of Hilton. Everyone's invited, including kids, so we hope to see you out there. And just look for the police car. That's where you'll find us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain. Next, I'll share a message on behalf of our interim DPW Director, Dan Antosik. Dan has texted me as a reminder there will be a delay in curbside pickup services due to the Memorial Day holiday observance. If your trash day is scheduled next week, it'll be shifted by 1 day. All construction projects are moving forward as scheduled. And then finally, I will share just a brief comment. The governor issued two executive order updates via the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. We are working through those. By we, I mean our internal emergency operations center team. And so we are crafting the policy adjustments that would reflect those orders. That means we are updating our COVID-19 comp book per the order. And that should be submitted and circulated to staff. And of course, a copy of that will be posted on the website and shared with council as well as part of our compliance updates. Also, I would anticipate an announcement about restoring City Hall public hours to normally regularly scheduled hours pre-pandemic, which would be Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. I anticipate a restoration of those hours over the next month as the executive orders continue to change some of the policy dynamics for City Council and other public buildings. And there are no further announcements that I've received from staff. The floor is yours, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for those very productive updates, and just really pleased with how we're moving back into somewhat normal, quotes, normal activities. It's really good to see. Next is called a council with council folks, and I'm going to start tonight with Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of announcements. Special Events Director Michael Larry did speak of the Juneteenth celebration coming up on June 19th. I just wanted to thank the partnerships that we formed as we were planning this celebration. I just want to thank our partnership with Ferndale Public Schools, Royal Oak Township, City of Ferndale, local artists, and I also want to thank the management assistant, Denicia Woods McSwain, for helping to facilitate these conversations. It's going to be a great event. We will be practicing social distancing as we want it to be as safe as possible for anyone attending. And we will, and there will be, well, more information in the next coming weeks for the June meeting. And I will maybe share a little bit more, but it's going to be a great event. Thank you to all the partners. I'm glad we were able to open up and continue to build bridges with the individuals in the communities, and I'm very happy to see Royal Oak Township involved in this. My second announcement, sorry, I'm looking away, I have it written down to the side here. My second announcement is I just want to congratulate all of the 2021 graduates, Ferndale High School, University High School, and TCEC. I know that Ferndale High School's graduation is coming up next Wednesday at the Aretha, and University High School's graduation, if I'm not mistaken, maybe this week. And then, of course, the TCEC graduation as well. So congratulations, graduates. You made it through another round of graduates, made it through through a pandemic. So I celebrate you and wish you well in your new journey on life and moving forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Next, why don't we go to Councilman Mikulski?
I apologize. I have no air conditioning up here, so I'm just fanning myself as much as I can. So just one item tonight. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, just like I had mentioned at the last council session. So I wanted to read some stats. 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 6 youth aged 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. Mental illness and substance abuse disorders are involved in 1 out of 8 emergency department visits in the U.S. And suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34 and 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. With that said, please reach out to your loved ones, talk to people. And there's a saying in the mental health community that we need unashamed conversations and improved services. I am so grateful that we're moving forward with this partnership with Common Ground and that our police and fire are taking the opportunity to train with them. That said, for anybody listening, if you need help, the National Alliance on Mental Illness has a helpline. It is 800-950-NAMI. If you are in crisis, text NAMI to 741-741. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. And next, why don't we go to Councilman Polka?
Mayor, could you possibly come back to me, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilwoman James.
Yeah, I didn't plan on making any comments tonight, but I feel compelled to. What a bummer to have our welcome mat
Presentation.
responded to in such a way. But you know what? That's democracy. That's the First Amendment. That's what people are entitled to come to public bodies and voice their opinions. But that being said, you know, I'm entitled to tell the elected officials, the city staff, and the community members that I feel for you to have those hurtful comments made. I really feel for you. I've been a little bit distracted throughout the meeting because I know the pain that it causes. And I'm sorry for that. But people have a right to say what they say and think what they think and express their opinions. But for anyone who's legitimately concerned about how we treat our flag policy, I'll let folks know that we did pass a flag policy earlier this year that's in alignment with national and state protocols for how the American flag is treated. Since that policy went into effect, we've authorized the raising of the Pan-African flag in February. We've also authorized the raising of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial flag. And to my knowledge, I think the Pride flag is the third flag of this year that I can think of. And frankly, I'm proud that we have been raising it for all these years and will continue to do so as long as I'm on this body.
Thank you for reinforcing our values. Councilman Polika.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that Tuesday, June 1st at 6 p.m., we will be raising the rainbow flag with a short ceremony, and all are welcome. We'll have some guest speakers, and it'll be a nice little event like we have. We're the first community in the state of Michigan to raise the flag in front of City Hall. Other communities have followed our lead, so I'm quite proud of that. I also wanted to remind everyone as well that Saturday, June 5th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., we will be having our spring temporary recycling drop-off station at City Hall. You have about 10 days to get your closets and garages and basements all cleaned out of your paints and solvents and styrofoam and electronics and everything that you don't want to go in the trash, except for paper. I don't believe we have the paper shredding. Yes, we will have the paper shredding, which is fantastic. So if you go to Facebook, there is a posting on the event. It goes through all the items: aerosol cans, glass, tires, hazardous items, untreated wood with no nails, etc. So make sure we clean the Ferndale up by cleaning out your basements and garages. And lastly, I wanted to talk about Como's Tea Dance. The first Sunday of each month, the next one will be on June 6th. The event lasts from 3 to 9 p.m. There have been a couple of events so far, and during both events, a number of complaints were raised through social media about excessive sounds. The promoter has and will continue to work with the police department to measure the sound levels. They have tested the levels before the event. The police have tested the levels before the event with the promoter, through speaker checks, and the levels have always fallen below the limit. During the event, the police have tested and checked the sounds, and the levels were at the sound limit. And I think because the city has been shut down for over a year, people don't realize how loud festivals and parties in our downtown can get. But I can guarantee you that the promoter is only interested in abiding by the rules and providing a fun afternoon for folks. And also these events are fundraisers for the LGBTQ nonprofit organizations in the Metro Detroit area. So it's 6 hours once a month on a Sunday afternoon. So hopefully people will become a little more comfortable not next Sunday, but 2 weeks from now when we have the next event. That's all I have for this evening. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilman Pollicott. I have a couple announcements tonight too. I wanted to express gratitude and thanks to two residents who are resigning from our boards and commissions. Is Dennis Augustin, who is on the Parks and Recreation Commission. Thank you for your longtime service on this board. I know that you've had an impact guiding our parks plan and making our parks better. And then Marciano Gangora resigned from the Ferndale Arts and Cultural Commission. And so we have 2 spots open, and I encourage people to apply and see if this is the time for them to dedicate their passions to the city of Ferndale. You may have heard that there's short-term rental legislation underway that would null and void all local ordinances or preempt them. And last week I went to Lansing to testify in the House Commerce and Tourism Committee and the Senate Regulatory Reform Committee. Both House and Senate took testimony on the same bill in 2 different spots. And I was invited to testify by the Michigan Municipal League because Ferndale recently passed our ordinance, and we took a balanced, middle of the ground approach to regulating the short-term rentals, which is really different from some of our municipal counterparts in heavy tourism cities along the coast of the lakes. And I just want to let you know I'll be on WJR tomorrow morning at 6:48 a.m. live giving an interview based off of the press conference MML put out today. And Cranes Detroit also interviewed me. So really trying to go to bat for making sure all the hard work that our residents and community put into this ordinance, particularly Councilwoman James and Councilwoman Mikulski, who spent months making sure the ordinance language was the most appropriate for the city. And this is what's at stake. So I will be continuing to champion that. And if anybody sees Senator Moss and State Rep Regina Weiss, please thank them for supporting or opposing these bills. Tomorrow, ML will be dropping proposed legislation that is a middle ground approach for the legislatures to consider. So I'm hopeful that something better will come out of all of this advocacy. And this is why we do what we do and why MML is our partner with cities, so that our interests as a municipality are best represented up in Lansing. And with that, I wanted to end with last month, our communications department helped launch the first e-newsletter coming out of the mayor and city council body. And we are preparing to launch our second one. They're coming out monthly with a mayor's update, as well as key updates and upcoming events and activities that have already happened. And we'll be spotlighting city council folks based off of what's coming up in the month ahead. So if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to sign up on the city's website. And can you ask the comms team to see if they can do another push to encourage signups when the next appropriate time is available on their social media schedule. With that, I just want to say thank you for everybody's participation tonight, and it is 9:08. Go back to your families and have a good evening. Thanks for joining and participating. Bye, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.